Hey everyone, welcome back to Caretips. Me again, Mark. Today we're back at the greenhouse with another video, and today we're gonna be using a different camera. So there's gonna be some improvements to our quality, okay? But for this video, I want to talk about 10 different frilly type of Echeverias, because usually when we're growing succulents, we only look at those thick leafed ones, but sometimes we overlook that there are also these frilly type Echeverias that add a lot of texture and also add a lot of interest to our gardens because they have some very unique looks. And actually all of the Echeverias that I will be showing here, I can say that they have very different looks. Even though they are the same frilly type Echeverias, they can be varied, they can be diverse as well. So now we're gonna start with the more common ones, and then as we go on later into the video, I'm gonna be highlighting some of the newer frilly type Echeverias that you probably haven't seen yet, or they are some of my newer succulents here in my collection. So now let's just go with the first one. And this is the first Echeveria that I wanted to show you. This is our Echeveria Neon Breakers. And you can see here, really nice frilly type Echeveria. And I'm actually really happy, really surprised at the amount of quality that this new camera has. Okay, what you can see here is really nice. It's got these frilly edges. And it's called neon breakers because the plant apparently looks like a neon. Once it's fully grown, I heard somewhere that it reminds people of a sunset because of the colors of the plant with its purplish bluish farina, and also with that orangey tips. Okay, that warm color tips and that nice bluish purplish farina. Okay, because of that look, it kind of reminds people of a sunset because of the way that the plant has multiple different colors. You can see there it's called neon breakers because of that. And you can see here with this plant of mine, it's already producing a large clump. Okay, it's already producing a lot of pops right there at the sides. You can see there. Okay, and at the center there's also multiple heads going on. So it's a clumping type of succulent. Really, once you manage to grow one from a small size, you can probably let it grow and it will multiply into different heads pretty soon. So it's a really nice clumping type of succulent. It can also propagate via leaves, but I would say that it's not the easiest succulent to grow because sometimes you will have difficulty with it, especially if you're used to these thick-leafed Echeverias, which establishes slowly and grows slowly because they're thick. But this one grows a little more active, and so if you put it in a very pumice heavy potting mix, it will not establish well. So I would recommend adding a lot more organic materials into its potting mix so that it can establish well, and you can also water it a little more than usual compared with your other Echeverias, with your thick leaf succulents, because it has really thin leaves. And if you neglect it for a little while, it can desiccate pretty quickly as well. So I would recommend that you give this a little bit more of usual watering. Give it more frequent watering. Okay, so now we're going on to our next one, and it's kind of a similar one because it's also a Shavayana Hybrid, and this is our Echeveria Shavayana Hybrid. Okay, local sellers sell this as Aurora. You can see here all the frilliness of the leaves on that. Really nice. Okay, so this plant is actually very frilly. I got this as a small size succulent. It wasn't reaching the edge of this pot, okay, when I first planted it, but now it has continuously grown. So I can say that yeah, I really had a lot of success with this recently. And right now, even if I'm neglecting it, it's not desiccating very quickly because it already has a large size. So I believe that this plant can also grow much more larger than this. So probably I will be repotting it into a bigger pot, and then I will let it grow to its full potential. But you can see here all the frilliness of the leaves that it has. Okay, really nice. And I like the compact look that it's already growing. It's already producing right now, because if you don't give it a lot of sunlight, it will grow into more flat shape. Okay, more like a plate. But you can see once you give it more sun, it will close up and it will look like a rose. So that's why probably people here are selling this as rosea. Other people are also calling this as Jocelyn's Joy, but I believe this is just one of those Shavayana hybrids. Okay, because a lot of these Shavayana hybrids look the same and they're being confused with their names because they look the same. But that's a really nice one you can add to your collection. Really nice frilly type Echeverias. Also the same with the neon breakers. You might give this one more attention, more frequent watering, and then it will grow a little quicker compared with your thick leaf Echeverias. It's one of those faster growing ones, but also it's one of those mealybug magnet ones, because a lot of these frilly Echeverias are really magnets for mealybugs. So you might want to prevent that from happening by adding circle G right away when you're planting these succulents. So this is my circle G. You can just, you know, when you're putting potting mix in your pots, just add the circle G right away, and then you can plant your succulents, and then you will have no problems with mealybugs later on. Because this one, recently I've had problems with mealybugs as well, and it's quite difficult when you get mealybug problems, and because they're frilly, sometimes you will not notice it right away. So we can see here at the back, okay, that head used to have a lot of mealybugs, but I added some Circle G, I sprayed it with water, and now I don't see a lot of mealybugs, okay, and we will just wait for the new growth so that it will not look ugly like that anymore. Okay, so we got that Shavayana Hybrid. So now let's go on to our next one. This is another one of those blue type colored Echeverias, bluish purplish. Okay, pardon my color statements, because I'm actually a little bit colorblind, so I'm not really specific about the colors. Okay, but it's one of those colored ones, and I can say that this is pretty much on the blue side, probably not on the purple side. Okay, this is our Echeveria Morning Beauty Subsessilis, and I really like this one, but it's not the easiest one to grow for me. It has some thickness to the leaves compared with your subsessilis, compared with your Shavayana and with your neon breakers, but it's also one of those frilly type Echeverias, okay, and it's also one of those thin leaf, but I would say that this one is a bit of a much more slower growing one. And you can see here, it's also one of those smaller sized Echeverias. It doesn't get very wide, but sometimes if you don't give it a lot of sun, you can see what's happening on the plant right here. Okay, you can see it's getting taller. Okay, that's what happens with this plant. It's very often for this one to start growing upright. Its older leaves will just move downward like that, even if you give it a lot of sun. So I would probably not recommend this for people who are growing in a very shady area. Okay, you might want to give this full sun so that it will continuously grow upright. Okay, but you can see here all the nice looking farina. It has a much more thicker farina compared with your other first two frilly type Echeverias, and it's really nice. It has a compact growth. Okay, it has a lot of leaves, and it's also a clamping type succulent. You can see here it's already producing another pop right there. Okay, so that's what we have, Morning Beauty. Okay, I would recommend this really for those high light type of locations, and if you're one who want to have a compact garden, compact Echeverias, you can try this Morning Beauty. Okay, so we have that. You know, with this camera, really, you can see the mustache that I'm starting to grow. Okay, I haven't shaved yet, but yeah, I'm gonna be leaving for a little while, so I won't be able to record any videos in the coming few days, so we're just gonna record this one right away. Okay, so now let's go on to the more uncommon ones. The first one is this Echeveria Simulans Essential. Okay, probably this one I already have featured very recently, but it's one of those newer varieties. In my other video, I said that you can replace your Shavayana hybrids with this one because it's the same frilly type, but it's much more newer, much more rarer, and also this is much more expensive when you buy this. Okay, it's not a very common type of Echeveria. You can see the frilliness of the leaves right there. Okay, really nice, and that really nice light colored margins. Okay, you can see there. Okay, really nice. It looks like the plant is glowing. Okay, now there are also other different types of Echeveria simulans. There is the Laguna Sanchez, and yeah, I forgot the other one, but there are also a lot of different hybrids of Echeveria simulans, and they all have these noticeable light edges and also frilly type of leaves. So that's really nice. Okay, if you want to have some more interest to your garden, and if you're not one who who are just wanting to grow this common type of Echeverias, you can go with these more unusual ones. And this is our Echeveria Simula Ascension. And I haven't had a lot of troubles with this plant really. It just kept on growing. It can tolerate a little bit of difference in the media, in the potting mix, but sometimes it will grow a little more. Okay, it's much better. I would recommend if you add a little more organic materials into the potting mix of this plant, since it's a thin leaf succulent, so it can grow a little more with more organic materials into its potting mix, and it will not desiccate a lot. Okay, because if you plant in too much inorganic materials and too much pumice, it can desiccate a little bit because it's a thin leaf succulent. Now I already have 2 of these, and I really like these 2. Okay, really love them. It used to be a twin Echeveria, and now I have 2. And yes, I've been trying to sell these plants, okay, but no one is buying them. Okay, probably because no one really wants them. Well, then I'm gonna be keeping them. Okay, now if you want to buy them, okay, you can probably look them up with some sellers, but probably right now I won't be selling yet because I'm having a hard time shipping these plants. And yeah, I'm quite busy right now. I don't have time to ship and to pack plants. Okay, so now let's go on to our next type of Echeveria. What do we have? This one I've also featured recently, and yes, it's one of those more slower growing ones, but yeah, I really like this plant, and I really adore it. When I first saw it, I instantly wanted to buy this plant. I said that, yeah, that Echeveria, I really want that. This is Echeveria Japan Moon River. Okay, you can see here all the nice growth that it has produced. Okay, it has already much more lighter center, which means it has already produced this new growth, and this new variegation are really nice, really interesting. And what I like about the variegation on this one currently is it's very stable. Okay, I'm seeing consistent variegation on this one compared with your other variegated succulents, which sometimes will produce non-variegated leaves, or sometimes they will have less variegation. But the Japan Moon River, it's been consistent with me recently, and compared with the Echeveria decora, which is sometimes it looks the same, and I should have added that plant in this video because that is also a frilly type Echeveria, but I featured that recently. Compared with that plant, it's a much more thicker leaf succulent. Okay, I would say that the leaves on this one is much more thicker, much more firm. It has a lot of weight compared with your Echeveria decora, which sometimes can get a little bit flappy, or their leaves are not that hard, but this one has really hard, really tough leaves. Okay, really nice type of Echeveria, and I like the growth on this one. It's not very consistent. It can have some variations to the way that the leaves grow, and also have that nice frilly look, though not as frilly as with your other Echeverias. But I really like it. It's been consistent with me, and I don't think that you will have any problems with this plant compared with your other frilly Echeverias. This is a gibbiflora hybrid, so it can attach more quickly to its potting mix. It can handle a little more frequent watering. Just be careful not to water it when it's not yet dry, and also you won't probably have any problems with mealybugs because gibbiflora hybrids are not mealybug attractant succulents. They're not mealybug magnets, these gibbiflora types, and really like this. Now it's just a much more larger growing Echeveria, so you might want to grow this one if you have a larger space, or if you have the space for it, or probably you can buy a smaller one and you can keep it small by planting it in a small container. But I will be letting this plant of mine grow a little more. Okay, so I will just let it grow, and I will be moving it up into bigger containers. Okay, so now on to our next one. Oh, we have 3 left. Okay, so this is our Echeveria Madiba. Okay, I recently planted this in a new type of pot and a new type of potting mix, but you can see here all the growth that it has produced in my care. Okay, the light is kind of odd right now, but yeah, it's a more pinkish type of Echeveria, and I really like the look of it. This plant of mine just has some burns, okay, but I don't mind it. Okay, I'm just gonna let it grow. I'm actually experimenting on this succulent because it's a very new variety here in the Philippines. But what I find with the recent trend with the sellers of this plant is, I think that it's a pretty tough type of succulent. It's another of those gibbiflora hybrids. Okay, and yeah, it has much more thicker leaves. It probably doesn't propagate by a leaf, or probably it does, because sometimes I will see sellers sell small size Madiba, and I'm not sure if those are leaf propagated. But yeah, this is one of the more active growing succulents out there, grows a lot and establishes very quickly. Now you just want to have the right potting mix for it, because sometimes it will not attach if you don't have the right potting mix. In my old potting mix for this plant, it wasn't attaching very well. But yeah, what's good about this plant, what I can tell, is that even if it doesn't attach well, it will still continuously develop and it will still produce new leaves, because even with the small amount of fruits that it had, when I repotted it, I saw only a few bits of fruits on there. It already has produced a lot of leaves. Yes, those new growth at the center, those are already new. So I'm actually quite surprised at how fast this plant has grown. So now I'm hoping that it can establish a little more in this bigger pot and we can make it grow a little more. That is our Echeveria Madiba. Okay, so we have that. Now on to the next, and yeah, I think we're gonna go with this one first. This is one that I forgot. I know that I will be forgetting something. Okay, this is our Echeveria Swan Lake. Yes, okay. I keep forgetting the name. It looks like a Shavayana Hybrid right now, but it's, yeah, probably it is a Shavayana Hybrid crossed with an Echeveria topsy-turvy, and that is our Swan Lake. Once it grows, it gets very, very large, and it also can go on to the more whiter colors compared with this one, which is quite blue right now. And I already have some heads. Okay, it already has produced some new growth, okay, since I have repotted it, and I really like it. It's one that will desiccate as well if you put it in a very pumice heavy potting mix, and that is the case that happened with this plant, because it already has shrunk down its size. It used to be much more bigger than this. But yeah, I'm hoping that we can make it grow a little more. Okay, or probably I will be buying another Swan Lake someday here in the channel, because this one is taking too long. Okay, once a succulent desiccates, drops a lot of its leaves and gets smaller, sometimes it will not be easy for them to come back out of that. Sometimes it will not be easy for them to grow large again, because they already have less leaves and they have less leaves to produce chlorophyll, to produce their food. So that means that they will start growing much more slowly. But if you start with a big one and it hasn't desiccated a lot, then it can establish much more quicker and it will retain its big size. Okay, especially if you don't get it to desiccate too much. Okay, because if you add too much pumice to its potting mix, it will desiccate and it will look kind of like this. Okay, it will get much more smaller, and that is the reason, probably the reason why a lot of growers are growing in a lot of pumice heavy potting mixes, because they don't want their succulents to grow. Okay, probably that's the reason why they're doing that. But yeah, I want my succulents to grow a little more, so just add a little more organic materials to its potting mix once you are growing this type of Echeveria. So that is our Echeveria Swan Lake. And right now the sun is already on my face. Okay, so we have that. Let's move on to our next. I think we're down to our last two frilly type of Echeverias, and this is the second to the last, and this is our Echeveria pink Chantilly. Okay, and the light is all over us right now. Okay, probably will angle the camera right here. Okay, so yeah, this is our Echeveria pink Chantilly, and the light is really eating at our face right now. Okay, but I want to highlight this very quickly. This is probably the dragon fin, or probably not, because yes, I'm seeing some dragon fin Echeverias right now at the market, and they're much more thicker. You can look it up, you can search it on Google, and this is pink Chantilly. This is told to me as pink Chantilly. I'm not sure if this will grow to a much more thicker leaf Echeveria, but from what I can tell from my experience growing this plant, it's much faster growing compared with your other frilly type of Echeverias. It produces a lot of growth very quickly, and I would just say that this is not the cheapest succulent that you can buy it, the pink Chantilly, or probably the dragon fin as well, that is much more expensive. But you can probably get a smaller sized one, and you can make it grow. Just let it grow into its full size. Once you already mastered your potting mix, you can probably make it grow a little more. And mine is actually bought as a smaller size Echeveria, but now it has already produced a lot of growth. You can see all the central growth on this one. Same with the Echeveria Madiba and the Japan Moon River, that is gibbiflora hybrids, that are gibbiflora hybrids. This one, can also establish much more quickly, and it can tolerate a little more watering as well because it's a gibbiflora hybrid. It's not one that is very prone to rot. Just make sure that you water it once it's fully dry and give it more sun. Now, this pink colors on this plant is very consistent, okay, even with the varying sunlight that I have here, probably consistent. I still have some consistent light here, but it's one that will stay on the pinker side, okay. It doesn't turn green, it just is growing just as a pink leaf type of Echeveria, and I really like it. It really stands out when I'm placing it among with my other Echeverias. It's really a standout type of succulent, the pink Chantilly. So I would highly recommend that you grow this type of succulent, okay, once you have the space for it. And yeah, you can just probably let it grow to its full size because it's really attractive compared with your other gibbiflora hybrids, which are just green or blue in color. This one has a lot more interest with its frilly leaves and also with its jagged edges and with that nice light colored pink. It's not a dark type of pink, it's a light type of pink. This Echeveria pink Chantilly has really nice type of Echeveria. Okay, so on to our last one, and this is one that is not also the cheapest current, not the cheapest Echeveria in the market as well. This is our Heart Delight or Heart Choice, but you can probably buy one with a smaller size and a much more cheaper price, okay, right now, because a lot of propagators are also selling it. But a lot of growers I've been asking around and during live sellings if this is an easy succulent to grow. They said that it's not. Okay, it's not the easiest one to grow. It doesn't propagate very quickly, and it's a very slow growing one, okay, but it's a really nice type of Echeveria right now. And you can see here on the plant right now, look at this, okay, so you can see on the center there is some carunculations on there going on, and it also has some frilly type of edges. Really nice. I think that it bears resemblance to a hyalina type of succulent, okay, that has these frilly leaves, and also it has some carunculations. I don't know if that is hybridized, crossed with a gibbiflora hybrid, or probably the plant itself has produced those carunculations as it was being cultivated, because sometimes there are cultivated varieties which are the same plant but they have different features and they're just cultivated that way so that those features are highlighted. And I think it's one of those cultivated varieties. Some grower out there in the world has seen a plant like this that has produced some carunculations, and that grower probably just encouraged the carunculations, propagated the carunculated plant, and now we got this Heart Choice or Heart Delight Echeveria, and it's one that will probably change as well. Okay, so if you don't have the amount of sunlight that the plant needs, it will probably lose those carunculations. So you might want to give it more light so that you can see more carunculations. Right now, you can see on the center, growing right here, we have some more carunculations growing from the plant. So I'm hoping that once it grows a little more, we can see that nice dot at the center of the leaf. So that's really interesting, along with the frilly edges that it has with those carunculations and with that compact habit, because it's not a very large growing Echeveria, it's more on the more compact side. Okay, this is already a large one, but it will take a very long time for a small one to grow into this size. Okay, once you buy a small one, it can stay pretty much compact. So if you want to have much more smaller size succulent, I would recommend this Heart Delight Heart Choice. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so yeah, I'm angling this way because the light is really against us on that other direction. But yeah, I really hope that you like the frilly type of Echeverias that I featured here on our videos. Hopefully you find something that you like and probably you will add to your collection later on. I already have suggested a lot of succulents very recently here on the channel. But yeah, these type of videos I find are some of the videos that really get a lot of views because you always want to see these new type of varieties of Echeverias, and these are also the type of videos that I really wanted to look for in YouTube when I'm trying to watch succulent videos. I wanted some varieties to be highlighted, so I hope that you like the video and the highlighted varieties that we have right here. If you did, please make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel channel below if you haven't already. Comment down any type of collection of succulents or any type of classification of succulents that you want us to feature here on the channel. Comment down below. I will try to read it, and hopefully we can do that in our future videos. But I think that's about it for this video, guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.